tough day than the rest of us. But it's a good time to invest in your life. I think there needs to be times, seasons where we pull away and we invest in ourselves as men, in ourselves as women, and say, God, here I am, ready for you to pour yourself into me. Amen? And so thank you guys who attended yesterday. We had a great time, just a lot to absorb, really. And just hopefully we'll become better men, better husbands, better fathers through it. This week, it's been an interesting week. Life kind of throws the curveball every now and then, and we're okay with that. On Monday, I was laid off from my job. Just the funding stopped, and that's just been kind of how our week started. But in the same time, things happen unexpectedly to us, but they're never unexpected to God. And I have full certainty in that. I have full comfort too in knowing that it wasn't anything that I could do or anything that I did wrong. If you're going to lead somewhere, you want to lead it the right way. But I wanted to share with you some things that I've learned this week. And before I really get into the heart of what we're going to talk about today, but the first thing that I've learned this week is that my company may have wrote my check, but my God is my provider. You know what I'm saying? God can shake out his couch cushions and pay my salary. He is not afraid of the money that I need or the money I have and don't have. And the next thing I learned this week is that he can and will hold you during the storm, and in his shelter you can find perfect peace. You can. I know you say, well, I've been going through something really difficult. I've been going through something really hard, and I just don't know the outcome. You're right, you don't know the outcome. But you do not have to know the outcome to be secure. My children don't know where their next meal is coming from, but they're certain that it's coming. Amen? And it should be the same way with us and God. Also, I learned something, and that is that sometimes in life you will learn lessons by looking at other people, and sometimes you will have to go through the lesson yourself. And so I hope that as we walk through this season in our life, that you can look at us and you can learn a lesson that God wants you to learn, and that we can learn a lesson that God wants us to learn. And that maybe you won't ever have to go through these difficult times. There's been times where I looked at other people and their circumstances and I said, okay, I see something there and I need to learn from this now. And then there's times where I've had to endure it myself and go through it. It's funny, we were praying Wednesday night, and one of the things that I was praying, I said, you'll never know what it's like to walk on water unless you get out of the boat. And I thought, wow, God, thank you for that wisdom. And as I was praying, April told me later she had to laugh to herself because she could literally see God dumping the boat over and her going into the water. And I thought then at that moment, I said, well, whether you're like Peter and step out of the boat or you're like Jonah and get dumped out of the boat, the ultimate thing is if God's ready for you to get out of the boat, you got to get out. And we may be on two totally opposite ends of that spectrum sometimes. Sometimes we're cast out into the water and he comes to our rescue, and sometimes we step out on and walk toward him. Amen? And there's nothing wrong with either circumstance. When God is ready to move in our lives, he will show himself miraculously strong, overcoming all odds to make his presence known. Think about this. Think about the impact that Jesus made when the disciples are out there on the boat. It's dark. They're wondering where they are. They're kind of sitting out there. And then all of a sudden they look out there and there's an image coming toward them across the water. And there comes Jesus, walking upon the water. And we say, I don't know where my next provision is going to come from. I don't know where the next things are going to come from. Well, I'm certain that the disciples didn't think that Jesus was going to walk across the water and come to them. They had no idea. See, we only think in what we think is humanly possible. And then we forget that God is the God of the impossible. Because he defines what is possible. And so I'm learning that this week. Jesus, he knew how to make an entrance. Like I said, this week in my life, I'm kind of dealing with this surprise. And I was talking to Marcus Strickland this week. He's always an entertaining person to talk to, if you know Marcus. And he was telling me, he said, I wish sometimes that God didn't enjoy movie-style drama. He said, I really do. He said, I'm not a big fan of the surprise party. And I said, I understand exactly what you're talking about. That God likes that. But God also likes that kind of unexpected revealing as well. Kind of like the Extreme Home Makeover where they pull back the curtain and then it's all just done. He also likes that kind of thing. I've seen it in my own life where you really didn't know anything was going on, and then all of a sudden there it is. And I'm kind of expecting that kind of reveal. I've had that kind of thing happen many times in life. They had no idea, that there was anything in the making, and then something was there. Something maybe that left me oohing and eyeing, or something that left me excited or even emotional. But today, what we're talking about, if you guys will fire me up, I have some stuff up there. But we're talking about the kind of moments and the lessons I believe are here for us to learn. Because what we're talking about today is that there comes a time where you have to cast your nets on the other side. You have to cast your nets on the other side. If you have your Bible, turn to Luke chapter 5. Luke chapter 5. I'll give you just a second to flip there if you want to follow along that way. Also, if you have the Bible out, there's something in the plans today for this message. And you can follow along with my notes there. But Luke chapter 5, verse 1. One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. And he saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. And he got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and he asked him to put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down and he taught the people from the boat. In other words, he created his own stage. And he said, when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch. And Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. And when they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. And so they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help him. And they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. And when Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man. For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken. And so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people. So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and they followed him. Talk about Jesus making a dramatic introduction. I love it. He's down there teaching. Hey, I see some boats. Hey, why don't we go out in these boats? And I'm going to finish talking. And when I get done, I'm fixing to provide an increase for you that you didn't know was coming. An increase that you didn't know was coming. Now, this story actually takes place 2 different times. And what I mean is the events almost verbatim happened 2 different times in Peter's life. The first time was when Jesus called him to follow him, right here, that we see this in Luke chapter 5. The second time was after Jesus was raised from the dead in John chapter 21. And I love the response in John chapter 21 that Peter had. It said that when Peter saw that it was Jesus, the second time now, he leapt out of the boat and he swam to shore. He swam to shore. See, Peter arrived on shore and finds that Jesus is already there and started a fire. And Jesus tells Peter at that moment, he says, Hey, bring some of your fish to me, and I will prepare them for you. And what I understood about that, when I saw the second time that Jesus had this same instance with Peter where he said, Hey, cast your nets on the other side again. As soon as Peter heard that, he knew that it was Jesus. And what I've learned is that Jesus at that moment was providing provision that Peter needed. He was. Number one, he was providing for him, he was meeting his immediate need, yet he was meeting his future need. What do I mean by that? Was that when Peter swam to shore, Jesus said, Let me make you breakfast. That was his immediate physical need. And then also, it said that they had about 150-something fish. So that was his future need as well. So he met his immediate need, and he met any need that he would have in the future. And then, so the next thing that he did was he was also meeting, like I said, he was meeting a physical need of eating while meeting his spiritual need, because what Jesus did after that was say, Hey, listen, I've risen from the dead, and you know that I'm not dead any longer. In other words, why are you back fishing? Why are you back fishing? Why are you out here fishing? I called you to be a fisherman. You're not supposed to be out here fishing anymore. And so what he did was he said, Go out and spread the gospel. And so he was providing him a future need. He was giving him a future plan. So it was his immediate plan was, sure, you've caught the fish, but you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be out doing something else. Isn't it weird how that even Peter, after he had experienced all the miracles that Jesus had, when Jesus died, he went back to what he was comfortable doing. Come on. When we've seen the glories of God, why would we ever go back to what we're comfortable with? Why would we go back and drink from that same fountain? Why would we go back and kneel at that same stream when God has given us an endless supply, an endless river? But yet the disciples went back to where they were comfortable. Let's go back to the fishing boat. Our Savior's dead. But immediately, when he heard his voice, it was like he had been energized. He had been, Peter himself had been resurrected again to life. And realized again what God was calling him to do. The first thing I want to show you this morning is that Peter was exhausted from trying other things. Exhausted from trying other things. It says that they had worn themselves out from fishing all night. They had worn themselves out. They had tried. I mean, have you ever been fishing before when you weren't catching anything? Isn't that a fun experience? That seems to be every time that I go fishing. I don't know what it is, if I've got the hook on the wrong end of the line or what, but I can't seem to catch anything. I've been out fishing several times with April's uncle in the ocean. I don't even think there's any fish in there. I've seen people cast from the shore, catch big old great fish. We went out in the boat for years, hours at a time. I spent time with them. It was a great time. We didn't catch any fish. We were great watchers, not anglers. But what I understand is that as you're fishing, that sometimes you have to change the bait. And change the bait. And change the bait. Cast this direction. Cast this direction. Cast that direction. I haven't had any more luck in a boat than I have from the shore, I'll tell you that. But I know this, that you'll get out there and you'll try anything to try to get them going. And then you'll get one little spot that you find, and man, you'll just keep hitting that spot. But you get exhausted from trying the same thing over and over, but getting nothing different as a result. And that's what happened here with Peter. I want you to understand this. When our faith is tried, our fallback plan is always to lean on our own understanding. That's why Peter was back in the boat fishing. It was because his fallback plan was always to go with something that he understood. What am I saying here? Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. My own understanding only gets me so far. And I'll be honest, it's not as far as I'd like it to be sometimes. But I cannot lean on my own understanding. And why is it that when things are difficult, we choose to remove God from the throne of our lives and decide to step there in his place? It's like, oh God, he's Lord of all. He is Lord of all. Until I don't understand what he's doing. And then it's, hey God, get off of the throne and let me back up there to make the decisions. Isn't that how it is though? It's like, man, we can trust God as long as he's doing things our way. We are fine as long as God's plan and our plan work together. But when it looks fishy, no pun intended, when it looks a little scary, then we're like, okay, I think I'm going to go back to making decisions now. Because I can control that. You know, it's like we look up there and we say, all right, God, I'll take it from here. Think about your life. I thought about this and I thought, how true is this in my own life? When it gets difficult, when I don't understand, what will I do? I will always go back to what I understand. Instead of pressing in and saying, God, what are you trying to show me about what you understand? It's so easy to go back. It's so easy to go back and say, oh, I'm just going to do what I used to do. I'll just go back to that old job, to that old way. And God's saying, no, I brought you here. I brought you here for now. And what I'm going to show you is going to bring about freedom, not only to you, but to everybody else. So quit leaning on what you understand and start pressing into who I am. Man, see, I've always been fine with God working things out in my life, as long as it mixed with what I thought was good for me. You know, in the past, I've had jobs. I've never been unemployed in my adult life. Never. Not even for a day. So this is new ground here. This is new stuff for me. I don't like it. I'll just be honest. Not really my thing. Some of you guys, I know how hard a worker you are. If you went unemployed, I know you will understand where I'm at. Okay? You work hours and hours and you depend on going to work. I'm going to go to work. 1, 2, 3, I'm going to provide. I'm going to do this. And then, so the first response is, I'm like, man, I'm going to lean back on what I know. I'm going to do what I know. I'm just going to go back to wherever I was. And see, I've always been comfortable, like, okay, when I was at the fire department and I was working, I left that and got another job because I met somebody, and within a few days I had a job offer. So I took that job, and it increased in pay, and I stepped up. That was easy. I was like, man, thanks, God. That was easy. And then when I got to the next job, I said, okay, after I've been here about 5 or 6 years, you know what? Somebody called me out of the blue and offered me another job, and I took another step up. And I was fine with that. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't say, God, what are you doing? How could you send me such another good job? But when God came in the same fashion that He's came every other time, when He showed Himself up in the same way that He did every other time, completely out of the blue, and something was removed from me, then I was like, oh, God, what are you doing? This is not how I planned on this to be. I've invested, God. I've done what you've told me to do. I haven't had but maybe 1 sick day in 5 years. God, I've been faithful. I've worked long hours and seen, difficult things and been through difficult things in the past. This isn't good for me. And He says, but isn't it the same way that I always do everything else? So how is it any different that I'm providing for you now than I was providing for you then? Just get ready. And see what I will do. See, when we say, God, you're no longer in control, I'm going to step back up on the throne. I'm going to step back up and do it my way. When we do that, you know what He does? He ceases to be Lord of our life. And we can like that, or we can not like that, but the truth is the truth. When we take over, we are not allowing Him to be Lord of our life anymore. And we like that old saying, man, I have told April this week multiple times. I said, sometimes you have to live out what you preach. And if I'm going to say things from up here like He's either Lord of all or not Lord at all, then I've got to respond that way when difficult things come my way. Amen? He's either Lord of it all or He's not Lord at all. He's either Lord of my wallet or He's not. And we say, I'm just going to hold on to it. I'm going to hold on to that money. I'm going to hold on to that stuff. And He's saying, let it go and let me bless it. Let it go and let me bless it. It's not yours anyway. It's mine. And if I want it, I'll get it back. I guarantee you it's that way. You cannot micromanage God. You can't. You can't sit back and say, He's Lord of my life. Then when you get uncomfortable, climb up on the throne and say, I'll take it from here. God does not work that way. He's an all-powerful, all-consuming God. And through this week, this process that we're going through, I find myself wanting to take over the reins of my life. I find myself, just like the disciples, wanting to lean on my own understanding, wanting God's advice, but the moment I recognize that I'm doing that, I've been putting my flesh in its place. The moment that I realize that I'm saying, you know what, God, I'll take it from here. Once I hear that in my head, I'm going back to that place and saying, you know what, no, I am not going to do that this time. I'm not. I told April, I said, in my life right now, I've pressed the pause button. I have paused my emotions. I have paused my own thinking. Yes, I'm doing everything that I can do. I'm applying. I'm doing all the things that people would think are responsible. But at the same time, I have pressed the pause button and I said, I'm not going to get fearful. I'm not going to wonder where my next provision is coming from. I am going to press the pause button and I'm going to wait on God. Because see, eventually we have to get past that place of leaning back on our understanding and go into some kind of maturity with God. We've got to grow ourselves. I can't be doing the childish things that I used to do. Eventually, when trouble comes, I can't run scared in a panic, but I have to lean on the rock. The rock that is higher than I am. So what do? How do I do that? Well, this is how I do it. I remember what He told me. Look, Jeremiah 29, 11 and a future. I just lean into that scripture. When I'm ready to keep casting my nets on the same side of the boat, when I have toiled all night and I've caught nothing, I will instead choose like Peter, who said, Master, we've worked all night and we haven't caught anything, but you say so, so I will let down my nets. In other words, I've tried everything that I know how to try, but since you said it, God, I'm going to do it. Since you said it, I'm going to do it. Because you see, it's not about what I think. It's not about my own understanding. It's about who He is. It's about His glory and His plan. You know what my job is? My job is to go and to let down the nets on the other side. You know what Jesus' job is? To provide whatever I can. My job is to go let down the nets on the other side. His job is to make the fish go in. And He's really good at doing His job. He's very, very good at doing His job when we do ours. Peter said, you know what? He said, Master, I've toiled all night. I've worked all night. I've been fishing for a long time. But you know what? Since you say so, I'm going to let my nets down over here. And what he realized at that moment is that the answer that he had been waiting for was a lot closer than he thought it was 5 minutes before. Can you imagine that he's let down his nets over here, and Jesus says something as simple as let down your nets on the other side. And when He does it, the fish are already there. Because see, below the surface, God is working in ways that we cannot see. And God was moving those fish closer and closer to those nets. And you and I have no concept of what happens below the surface. But what we do is we listen to Jesus as we let down the nets on the other side. We let down the nets on the other side, and then He puts the fish in the nets. So I don't micromanage what God has to do. Let me show you the significance this morning of what's happening in this story. When they did what He told them, they no longer had enough, but they had more than enough. When you do what God tells you to do, you'll no longer have enough, you'll have more than enough. I want you to know this week that we haven't heard for anything. I would say this week that April probably has done double the business of what she normally does. We don't hurt for anything. I will say that financially it's probably been one of the most stellar weeks we've had. And we're able to just continue to do what we need to do. I have a job through Wednesday of this week, and then after that we don't know as far as where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I have full certainty that that's what's happening. But see, when we let down our nets and we do what Jesus tells us to do, we have not just enough, but we have more than enough. Don't you want to live a life where your nets are breaking from the provision of God? Sure, in this story it's a physical provision, but it's not just the physical provision that God is providing. He is providing a spiritual example that's going to shape the very lives of Peter, James, and John. Because through this, they would no longer be regular fishermen anymore. They would be fishermen of men. And they would know that not just that Jesus is Master, but that Jesus is Lord. This would rock their very foundation. See, sometimes you just need to listen to the voice of God and cast your nets where He tells you to cast them. Haven't you ever, am I the only person? Am I the only person that every now and then feels like God says something and you go, what? What? Really, am I the only person that sometimes God says something, you're somewhere, you're doing something, you're working in some way, and you say, man, that sounds a lot like God, but what in the world? What are you telling me to do? Go up and talk to that person. Go up and say this to them. And you're going, they're going to think I'm crazy. Go over here and just pay for this person's lunch. Just do that. Go over here, do this, act this way. Move here. Work here. Go here. You're like, I know that sounds like God, but sure it's not somebody else that's telling me this? I mean, we've all had that moment where we're like, we know it's God, but we're really afraid to acknowledge that it is because of what we're going to have to do. Pedro tells me about some of the things that he does, and he's like, man, I felt like God told me to do that, and I just went and did it, and I was like, I don't really know why. And I'm like, yeah, it's just kind of weird sometimes that God will call us, what? Out of our comfort zone. Imagine that God would actually want to bring us out of a place where we're comfortable in order to make us better than we were before. I almost wonder that when we're comfortable for too long, are we listening to God? When I'm in my comfort zone, it's really easy just to keep on doing whatever I'm doing. But if God brings me out of my comfort zone, what am I forced to do? I'm forced to stretch. How do you make somebody a bigger, better person? In sports, how do you do it? You push them to the point of exhaustion. And then you push them a little bit more. And then they realize, that they're capable of more than they thought they were. We did that in football. It's like you'd run till you was dead. Then you run a little more. And you go, oh man, I can run a lot more than I thought I could. You do it in the workout. When you're working out too, it's like, oh, I can lift this weight. I can lift it 5 times. And they say, well, let's put 20 more pounds on there and see if you can do it. Then you lift it 3, and they say, oh, let's put a few more weights on there. So finally, you're struggling to get it to 1. But what you realize at that point is you're stronger than you used to be. See, that's what God's doing. He's shaping our lives. He's molding us in a way to where we are able to lift more than we used to could lift. We're able to do more than we used to could do. And we're able to accomplish more for His kingdom than we ever thought was possible. Do you want to be natural? Or do you want to be supernatural? Natural man can only do so many things. Supernatural man is limitless. Maybe the things right now that you're investing in, think about this. They caught fish, right? Yeah, they caught fish. Maybe the things right now that you're investing in are producing enough to sustain you. Think about that. You're catching enough fish to survive, Charlie. You've caught a bunch and you've got plenty to eat on. But maybe, just maybe, that God is not wanting you just to catch enough for you to survive, but maybe He's wanting you to catch enough to provide for somebody else. Why would we put the cap on and say, oh, I've got enough fish for me? And we're not just talking about fish here. We're talking about whatever it is that God is doing in your life, that He's saying, hey, do it a little bit differently and see if I don't provide the increase. Man, there's so much. The story paints the perfect picture of the call that Jesus has on these men's lives. They could keep fishing and impact a few, or they could follow Him and change the world. Sure, they could have known Jesus and they could have continued fishing, but when they decided to lay down their nets and leave, never to come back again, they had a chance to impact the world. And we're still talking about it today. Had they have fished and remained fishing and remained doing the same things they had always done and leaned on their understandings, we would not know of Peter, James, and John today. What kind of legacy will you leave behind? Peter's obedience allowed him to see Jesus for who He was. And for the first time, allowed him to see himself for who he was as well. What are we talking about this morning? Let's look. When Simon Peter saw what Jesus had done, he fell at His feet, or at His knees, and said, go away from me, Lord. I'm a sinful man. Before, what did Peter call him? Do you remember what he called him the first time? He said, Master, we've let down our nets, or we fished all night, and we caught nothing, but because you say so, Master, we'll let it down. But after he caught the fish, he no longer called him Master. He called him Lord. He called him Lord. Because he saw, number one, who he was, who Jesus was, and he saw who he was, a sinner. Look at this. An encounter like this with God will do 2 things. Number one, it will reveal to you who you really are. And next, it will put in perspective who Jesus is. When you go through difficult times, when you're trying to figure out what the next thing in your life is, when you're saying, okay, where am I going from here, God? It will show you, number one, who Jesus is to you. He's either your provider or He's not. He's either your Lord or He's not. And when you say, oh, I've tried it my way, that's what this is painting the picture of. Peter, James, and John had done it their way, but it produced nothing. about that in your own life. When is the last time that you said, God, what way would you like me to do this? And it may be in the most simple thing. What way would you like me to invest my money? God, where would you like me to put it? God, what would you like me to teach my children? God, what do you want me to do in this situation? I've got 2 jobs here, God. I've got to pick between one or the other. Which one is going to bring you glory, God? And then we say, we can go. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to go where it's comfortable. Or we can say, no, I'm going to cast my net over here, and I'm going to wait and see if God's working below the surface. What is he telling you to do? An encounter like this with God, like I said, it will reveal who Jesus is. Because look at it. As soon as this happens, in Luke chapter 5, verse 8, the first thing that Peter says, he says, whoa, God, I'm sinful. It revealed who he really was. See, when we're in the presence of God, when we're in the presence of Jesus, it reveals who we really are. Think about the life of Peter, how it was radically changed. And you say, well, how can my life be radically changed? Well, number one, radical change in our life begins with obedience. Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down my nets. Because you say so, God, I will do this. I will be obedient all the way to the cross. Because you say so. He chose at that moment who was Lord. The next thing I want you to see is recognize. It will cause you to recognize who you are, and it will help you decide who God is in your life. When Simon Peter saw this is in verse 8, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, for I'm sinful." So radical change begins with obedience. And then the next thing that happens is it recognizes who you are and who that God is. You know, another thing that happened with Peter is it changed his identity. A radical encounter with Jesus will change your identity. You're no longer the same person that you used to be. That's why Jesus saw it necessary to change his name. See, when God changed a person's name and gave him a new name, it was usually to establish a new identity. He changed Simon from Simon meaning God has heard to Peter, which means rock. You know, and occasionally throughout the Bible, Jesus would still call him Simon. And you almost wonder if it was because he was still acting like Simon and not acting like Peter. See, it's hard for us to establish that new identity sometimes. But God is seeing us differently than he used to see us. Another thing that it did, it also gave him a different job. Imagine that. That when he encountered God, it gave him a different job. He was no longer a fisherman. He was now a follower. And after Jesus' death, he would go from follower to leader. It says in Acts that Peter took over the role of leadership amongst the disciples and the new established church multiple times. In Acts 1 and 2, it makes the statement, then Peter stood up. Then Peter stood up. He was now established as a leader that Jesus recognized in Peter the very first day that he saw him. In Acts, we see that established fully. Now Peter could no longer be who he once was. He was forever changed. And not only did he know who he was, but he knew who Jesus was. See, when Jesus moves in our life and when he moves in my life, it's like I see this radar that shows up that says, oh yes, that's the mark of God. Is there anybody else to raise their hand? I mean, we'll do a raise your hand this morning if there's anybody that says, there's things that when they happen, I take notice of them because that's how God's worked in my life in the past. Yeah. There's those things for me. These all of a sudden moments is how it works in my life. It's like, we're going down this path, boom, something happens weird. Just really strange. I mean, the day that Wes called me about coming over here, it was really random for my life. Really wasn't looking at any of this. It's been the greatest blessing in my life so far. One of the greatest things that's happened to me. But it was really random. And everything has been really random. And it's almost like I just counted as the fingerprint of God. There's God. There's God. There's God. There's God. And when I look back over it, it's the greatest moments of my life. I recognize the identity of Christ. Because see, once you've experienced Jesus, you'll recognize it again the next time. I want you to see something here. Let's move along. John chapter 21. This is the second time that Peter is encountering Jesus, and as far as casting his nets. Afterwards, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. And it happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the son of Zebedee, and two other disciples were together. And just like a lot of us, I'm going out to fish, Simon Peter told him. And they said, we'll go with you. So they went out and they got into the boat. But that night, guess what? They caught nothing. And early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore. But the disciples did not recognize that it was Jesus. And he called out to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered. He said, throw your nets on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. And when they did, they were unable to haul the net in the boat because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it's the Lord. And as soon as Simon Peter heard him say, it's the Lord, he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and he jumped in the water. Then the other disciples followed him in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. And when they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals, and there was fish on it, and some bread. And Jesus said to them, bring some of your fish you have just caught. So Simon Peter climbed back in the boat and dragged the net ashore, and it was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. And Jesus said to them, come and have breakfast. Now look at this. They recognized the identity of Jesus. None of the disciples dared ask him, who are you? They knew it was the Lord. They knew it. Because they had seen him before. And when God moves in our life and you say, man, that looks like God, why don't you just start accepting and saying, yes, that is God moving in my life. And I need to move in the direction that he's moving in order to see the increase in my nets that I am casting. That's God. Now listen to me. Listen to me. Peter knew the Lord. And when he heard that it was him, he could not contain himself anymore. He dove into the water with great enthusiasm. If I want to learn anything from this story, I want to respond the way that Peter responded when he realized it was God. With such enthusiasm that I throw on my coat, I jump in the water, and I swim to the shore, and I say, hey, here I am. I'm ready for what you have. He wanted to be with Jesus so much, so passionately, that he would just dive into the water, leaving the boat behind. Do you remember in the movie, I think you saw the movie Forrest Gump. Boy, doesn't that remind you of that? Yeah. Man, Lieutenant Dan rolls up on that dock. You see Forrest, he comes in his boat. He just dives off in the water. Boat crashing into the side over there, taking out docks. But it was the enthusiasm to see somebody that he loved. And Peter had that same enthusiasm. He had an enthusiasm to see someone that he loved. And boy, in your times where you're casting your net and you've drawn back nothing, isn't it a wonderful feeling to see somebody that you love? I've had that all week this week. It's like a love fest. People just calling you, checking on you, telling you about jobs, telling you about things, telling you it's going to be all right, speaking life into you. It's just a wonderful feeling to find that there's people that love you. And just like the first time that Peter found Jesus, the resurrected Savior found him again. And then he loved him again. And then he cared for him again. Isn't that interesting? Jesus found him again, right where he found him the first time. Isn't that just a representation of what Jesus does for us? He just comes back and finds us right where he found us the first time. And he loves us again. And he cares for us again. And he provides for us again. He did that with Peter. He provided his physical needs. Jesus today is going to do the same thing for us. He's wanting to show us that he's Lord today. He's wanting to reveal himself to you today. And he is waiting for you. And he is ready to care for you. Randy, when you come this morning, I want you to understand this morning that maybe for a while you've been trying things that don't work. Maybe for a while you've been doing things that do not work. Maybe for a while you've been going down a path that is not bringing fish into the net. And now is is the time for you to say, okay, Jesus, what are you doing? And to listen to the voice of God as he says, hey, cast your net on the other side. Why don't you just cast your net on the other side? You say, man, I've been trying to do this for so long and it don't work. Well, why don't you do something different? Why don't you do something different? Let's stand together. Stand together this morning. Close your eyes and just bear with me for a moment and think this morning. When is the last time that you heard the voice of God and responded? Then again, when is the last time that you even looked for the voice of God? When is the last time that you even said, just maybe, God, what do you want me to do in my life? I know it's scary. The unknown is the scariest part of anything. But in the unknown, below the surface, is where Jesus provided for Peter. In the unknown, he had already put things into place. This morning, would you just let God put things in place? And would you just listen for his voice and cast your net on the other side? Some of you here this morning, maybe you've been drawing empty for a long time. You hadn't caught anything. Your life is pretty sad. And you haven't really surrendered it to Jesus. Would you do that today? What if right now is the moment where Jesus says, come to me and let me be your Savior. Confess your sins to me. And let me love you. If that's you this morning, I'd love to pray with you. I'd love to pray with you about what God's direction is for your life. And I'd love to see you come to him this morning. As they sing this morning, don't be afraid of this altar. There's nobody judging you for being here. We want you to grow and learn. seated. This is Greg. I met Greg a while back. We were at the men's conference together yesterday, but he had something he wanted to say this morning.
It's something special for him.